I don't know if she has in her room or in her office.
So it's very windy, but we're gonna make do and we're gonna make it happen. I have this lighting. Hi Candice. Yeah, so I'm trying to get it lit. But I got, so the cup's working. We have cups. Candice, Mr. Mitchell brought cups, so we good. If you want to come down and light a candle, we're here until 9. We're on Victoria Square. We're going to continue 49 nights. Last night we had candles lit here, but we did a big lighting at the DB South meeting. So we are consistent, and we're going to continue for the 9 nights. When the other members come, Candice and Stefan and Avanel, they're going to raise the issues as to why we're out here doing this. It's more than just observing an anniversary. We've served a petition on the government signed by 128,500 citizens. And so far the government has ignored that petition. So of course we're going to have to escalate our activism to get them to take care of their responsibility. And one of those responsibilities is answering to the people who vote them in office. So I am completely exhausted. I cannot tell you what day it is on any given day without checking my phone. We're not getting a minute off. We're fighting so many huge battles. And in the middle of all of this, Andrea's anniversary came up and we had to deal with that too. Mr. Mitchell, help her, get her to stand, because you seem to be very good at that. Although the breeze died down a little bit. When I had just arrived and I was preparing to light my candle, a guy walked past me and he stopped to chat with me. A national athlete, a runner, serious runner. And he stopped to talk to me a little bit about things that are going on in the country. And he explained to me that he's homeless. And he's a national athlete. And he is sleeping in a park in Port of Spain. A national athlete. Sleeping in a park. If we citizens don't get it, that we need to stand for each other individually, people will sink. A national athlete sleeping in a park. Everything is ignored. How could a year pass? And in that year, other bodies get found in the same location. And this government not take action to install cameras and a police post and basically make it difficult for these people to use a repo as a killing field. So there are people laboring under a false sense of security tonight, only because the wolf hasn't reached their doors yet. Trinidad is quickly becoming a kill or be killed country. When somebody makes a move against you, against your life, how do you defend yourself? These criminals planning for you. So they're coming with their weapon of choice for you. You defenseless. The government is wasting resources trying to demonize a former commissioner of police, going after people who have legal firearms. And while they're wasting resources doing that, those with illegal firearms killing people in broad daylight. So you tell me. You tell me. I am not sure about the current kill score. I think we're at 68 in 34 days. I think we're on the way to a record. 4 people were killed in Diego Martin. Whole family wiped out. I think we're on the way to a massive, massive record. Trinidad is in the midst of a bloodbath. And the only time people waking up to the reality is when it hits home. When it's someone they know. Then let's cry and light candles. We need to light candles and cry for strangers. Because if we don't stand up for strangers, it'll start to happen to our friends. We need a government that understands their job is to secure the citizens. Legal firearms allows the citizens to defend themselves until you get your act together. Giving women pepper spray. Hearing people talk about if they make pepper spray legal, bandits will get pepper spray. Bandits don't want pepper spray. Bandits have submachine guns. They don't want pepper spray. Bandits have all the weapons they need. They're not waiting on pepper spray. The fact that we have to ask for pepper spray for women. Pepper spray is an escape route. Pepper spray is not a self-defense mechanism. Pepper spray is buy time and get out. What do you do when you're a woman in what you thought was a taxi and the driver locks the doors with a mechanism that doesn't allow for you to open it back? And you're screaming and you're shouting and nobody taking you on. There have been reports that this woman, this young woman, Miss Kujo, Kitisha Kujo, people heard her screaming, but they were afraid to respond. They were afraid to respond. Imagine it. So you're a woman taking a taxi home, like any of the 250,000 women who take a taxi home at the end of the day, and the taxi turns out to be a kill car. It's designed to prevent you being able to get out. A kill car. And the driver takes you to the killing fields. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do? The driver pull over by a corner and 2 more men get in. And it dawns on you that the last time you saw your loved ones is going to be the last time you saw your loved ones. Barring a miracle. Because Khadijah didn't get a miracle, and Andrea didn't get a miracle, and Shannon didn't get a miracle, and Ashanti didn't get a miracle, and none of these girls. And I'm giving you the top 10 on the hit parade because we know those names well. There are a lot more inside of there that we don't remember their names. That's what these candles for. These candles tonight are to remind the government that PH cars are providing avenues for kill cars to operate in this country because we do not have a proper transportation system we are going to need to regulate and regularize that PH taxi system, or more of our women will die. People take cars, rent cars, and change the license plate number. That's what went on with Andrea. We know Mr. 10,000 for the 45. We know he rented a car to a man on 77 charges who went for Andrea, plotted for Andrea, changed the license plate on the car to H car. Andrea thought she was in an actual taxi. Because anybody could make a license plate in Trinidad. You're not dealing with that. They have no 1% who want to get a license manufacturing contract. So until the 1% want to get into the license plate business and kick back to the government has no interest. None. Because this is a country run by kickback, graft, and corruption. So the only time we're going to get radio frequency chip license plates is when bubble could be organized. Like the pepper spray. The pepper spray law taking some time because they have top manufacturing brands that need to be sewn up by importers who need to profit off all this murder and all this killing. Because killing is killing and law is law, but money how to make. Food have to eat. And that's the truth of our condition. Now you're free to go back to burying your head in whichever hole your head was buried in earlier, before this video started. That's alright. That's okay. It's not my place to tell you that you have a responsibility to your brothers and sisters in this country and that they have a responsibility to you. It's not my place to tell you that. You're supposed to already know that. Because if you already knew that and you were voting like you knew that, then we wouldn't get charlatans and shittongs in parliament and in cabinet and in government. We have charlatans and shittongs in parliament and cabinet and government because our votes are too cheap. And we don't understand that when we take a $500 or $1,000 and a jersey and a ham sandwich and an orchard juice for our vote, we don't understand that when we go in that polling booth and we take a picture of the vote that we sell the vote for to get a piece of money, we don't understand that by doing that we are authorizing kill cars and killing fields. We don't get it. Many of us don't seem to have the ability to link our actions the circuitous way of life. So in the year that it took for the government to bitch, moan, stunt, pretend that Andrea wasn't their direct fault, in that year, Khadija Kujo happened. So now, the PNM supporters that thought Andrea Barrett wasn't theirs to claim now had one that they couldn't ignore. And they couldn't blame the PNM because it's hard to face the fact that the people you supporting are the ones that letting you down. So they had to lash out. Lash out at the Candlelight movement. How come we ain't light no candle yet? Like if we on standby for every death to run out with our lighter and our candle to light candle. That is our work now. Instead of us calling on the government to protect our women. That little jackass troll on TikTok. She gets she little 65,000 views of fame for a minute. But she is still at risk. She is as at risk as she was before she made that video. Because attacking the Candlelight movement may have gotten her some likes and shares among the PNM cult that cannot point its finger at Massa's house in Balize House. So that's alright. But she is still at risk. Because if she accidentally ends up in a kill car, she can't say, hey, No, guys. I the one who make the video. Lashing out at the Candlelight movement. Drop me off. Pick up our next one. She can't do that. And she doesn't know the extent of the jackassery of her video, and it distracted people from the reality of the failure of government to protect the women of this country. So we now have to come out and light candles for 9 nights to make sure that you remember that Khadija Kujo deserved the same protection and respect that we're fighting for Andrea Barrett and everybody else. And that the Candlelight movement does not want to be the celebration organization for each and every successful killing. That's not who we are. We formed an organization out of the national outpouring of pain for Ashanti and then Andrea, practically on top of each other. The failure of the government and the media and the parliament and the cabinet and the opposition and the offices of state. We spent $150 million on high-level public servants, from the prime minister and the president, come down to all these mayors and chairmen of regional corporations and police officers, and nobody in this country is safe. Government and political operatives can feel free to use the police service to oppress who they need oppressed. The courts and the justice system. You see, Trinidad is not an accidental shithole. It's a well-planned, well-constructed shithole. And the shit is designed to fall on you and me and all of us who not in the Red House calling the shots. And that's the truth. So you now have to decide if the vote that you have should be wasted on those charlatans and political shithounds any longer. People would prefer I put on a priestly smock and say it with more parliamentary terms. But I am sure that these girls in their last gasps for breath when they're fighting off their attackers, they're not using church words. They tried to kill Ashanti by strangling her with her own belt, and that didn't work. So they stab her up and kill her. And then discard her body in a river in Santa Cruz. Now, if it ain't yours to claim, in this shit of a country, people walk on instead of stopping and putting the blame where the blame's supposed to be at 59 years of failure. Because a country this rich cannot be run this badly. Each and every one of these candles will burn into the memory of this country like the thousands of candles that scarred Woodford Square. And it will burn into the psyche of this country and in the memory of this country that our government not only fails its people, they don't give a shit about the people. Because a year later, we're still finding dead young women in Aripo killing fields. And not a word from the president, the prime minister, or the opposition leader. $150 million out of your taxes pays for that shit. How you feel about that? see it. If you want. And if you want your face on it, flip the screen to here and just press this out. And then just talk right there.
Good evening to everybody on the live. As a few more people come to join us to light their own candles for Katisha, Andrea, Shannon, Ashanti, and all the women whose names are endless, because this, as the theme has been tonight, last night, and the first night since the anniversary of this candlelight, and the theme has been, this is no longer, but for a long time it has not been a single or scattered incident. This is now an ongoing trend, and it's almost a very nasty and dirty part of the subculture of this country, the criminality of this country. And Phillip was saying something, and I think it touches the hearts of every single member of the Candlelight movement and every single person who has been involved in the Candlelight movement so far, which is that lighting these candles is not something that we look forward to. And I said it the first night because it means somebody else is dead. It means that we failed once again to protect another young woman, another angel, another one of my sisters. We failed to protect her from being assaulted, humiliated, because the details of that story, she's not around to hear it, but nobody wants to be killed and discarded in such a careless way, as if your life never mattered. And for all the people who want us to be in outrage, yes, be in outrage, but my question is, what happens after the outrage? Let's say we get 10,000 people pouring out into the streets for Katisha, just like we had for Andrea. What then? What next? Where do we go from here? Is the Candlelight movement solely just to amalgamate and come together when somebody is killed? Is that our only purpose? Yes, that was our genesis, but from there we went on to say these are the ways we want our woman protected, because if we exist just to light candles, then we become just another group spitting in the wind, calling and crying for change, but not proposing any real ideas of how we could go about doing it. And that's what the Candlelight movement is supposed to be about. It's supposed to be about, yes, it started with one candle, but it grew into something more than that. And to the Trinbagonians who are afraid to turn the finger and point the blame, because admitting that the ones that they support are the ones who fail to protect them. I understand how that might be hard to admit. So it's easier, like Phillip said, to blame the ones who respond to the ones who are killed by the same people who you don't want to blame for the killings that take place. Crazy, right? It sounds very crazy. But when y'all are ready to admit that this country is broken in so many different ways, so many different levels of evil and toxicity and corruption, that it just literally has found its way into almost every single system. Social development in this country is a joke. The fact that we have men and women, sad to say, capable of some of the kind of crimes that we see being perpetrated against children and women, it tells you that we have monsters in society, and it tells you that we as a society have failed to rein in and get rid of these monsters. And I say get rid of because there's clearly a fundamental flaw in our society. If we have so many of our women and so many of our children being killed, there's obviously something very wrong with our country. If this is something that is now considered a norm, and I could never see this as a norm. Every time I have to light a candle, I get more sad, I get depressed, and I think I get the usual feelings that every woman gets, which is, am I next? That's what you get. And you think of every other woman that you know and love and care about, and you wonder, could this happen to them too? And I think we as a people really need to start facing our monsters. We need to start facing our demons. We need to start admitting what is wrong in this country. We need to stop passing blame as a means to deal with the hurt, because we're not ready yet to admit that the blame should fall on the shoulders of those who we give our vote to every 5 and 4 years. We're not ready to admit that. But we have to admit it if we expect these killings to stop. We have to admit these things to ourselves if we really want this woman, this young girl, to be the last one. Because if not, then we're just lying to ourselves as a nation. If not, we're just going to end up lighting candles perpetually while nothing is being done. There's a statement, be the change you want to see, and in the past few days that statement has made even more sense than it has since I heard it. And that's because everything that we want to be different in Trinidad and Tobago really first starts with us. Everything that we want to change in Trinidad and Tobago really first starts with us. It first starts with admitting, like I said, that we are a flawed, broken country, and then from there making a decisive decision to do something about it. We cannot. I can't see myself here next year lighting candles for Andrea and Katisha and everybody else, and then adding on 4 and 5 and 6 and 10 and 20 names to others. I can't see myself doing that. I don't want to be doing that. And I've made my active decision that I'm not going to do that. And it's why I fight as hard as I fight, and it's why I sacrifice as much as I sacrifice, because a better Trinidad and Tobago it's not an easy road. I trust me, I've experienced that firsthand in the past 5 years being involved in politics and activism. Change is not easy, and it will never come easy. But anything that's important to you is worth fighting for. So as hard as change may be and may seem to come, it's why we continue to do what we do, because it doesn't happen overnight. And we believe that a better Trinidad and Tobago is possible. We believe that the people in Trinidad and Tobago don't have to live under constant fear, that women and children don't have to live under constant fear. I believe that this country has so much potential, and I believe that this does not have to be our reality. I personally am committed to making sure that this is not our reality, and all of us, every single one of us watching this video here tonight, every single one of us need to see a better Trinidad and Tobago as our responsibility, and then actually make steps towards making that happen.